We knew it would happen eventually, that Labour would raise taxes, but would it be quite so rapid? Chancellor Rachel Reeves made it clear throughout the election campaign that working people would not have an increase in tax, but it seems that things like inheritance tax, capital gains, reform in tax relief on pensions are definitely not out of the mix. Details on that on the way. And as we've been discussing, guilty as charged for Hugh Edwards following that court appearance this morning. The former BBC newsreader has pleaded guilty to making indecent images of children. Will he manage to escape prison time, though? It looks that way, if for no other reason than the issue of overcrowding. The injustice would surely cause outrage. We continue to look and update you on that story. Everything you need to know, all the breaking news right here on Talk 0344 499 1000. Jane in Coventry says the first thing we need to get rid of is TikToks, with all these people setting up in their bedroom as if it's the next newsreader that don't have a Mr. Magoo about nothing. Don't give a Mr. Magoo about nothing. You're absolutely right. If I lost count now. This is unfortunately the world of technology. It's not really AI. I know everything tech-related now is rather annoyingly referred to as AI. No, it's just technology. It's not actually AI. But because you can edit and have backgrounds and do stuff really simply just on your phone, you can create an image in your own bedroom of like a newsroom. It looks like you're in a newsroom with a desk and everything and lights and titles, and it's impressive. And every now and again somebody will send me say, why are you not talking about this, Collins? So it's Collins when they're angry. Look, it's on the main news. And they'll send me a clip of somebody where I think, that's not the main, it's just a bloke in his bedsit, just saying stuff. I mean, I would have thought the clue would have been the fact that he can't clearly string a sentence together for love nor money. But it looks good, the graphics look good, the opening titles. They've got it all going on. They've got the little imagery across the screen, the date, the clock, everything is there. It looks like a sort of CNN or a Fox or whatever. But not true. Let's move to this domestic story. The Deputy Prime Minister has outlined her vision to build 1.5 million homes by reforming the current planning system. This, of course, is Angela Rayner, who's told Parliament the country was facing the most acute housing crisis in living memory, but the government has the ambition to solve the problem.
We are ambitious, and what I say won't be without controversy, but this is urgent, because this Labour government is not afraid to take on the tough choices needed to deliver for our country. These are the right reforms for the decade of renewal the country so desperately needs, and we will not be deterred by those who seek to stand in the way of our country's future. The honourable members opposite may say this cannot be done, but I say that once again, I'll prove them wrong. This government will build 1.5 million homes that are high quality, well designed and sustainable.
Well, there it is. We're going to speak to Right Move in just a moment, but first, Nick Cracker, Conservative councillor, chairman of East Cornwall Planning Committee. Nick, good afternoon to you.
Good afternoon. Hello.
Nice to have you with us. Yeah, very well. It is the Gordian knot, of course, of politics, local and national, trying to solve the housing crisis. We all know it needs to be solving. Has the opposition, in this case, Angela Rayner, gone and done it, Nick?
Well, they're very brave, and I think good on them, actually, for trying to tackle this early on in the administration. We clearly have a problem in this country that we're not building enough houses. Here in Cornwall, we've got about 20,000 people on our council waiting list. So wow. The problem is real. We know that, and I don't think we can just simply write off what the new government are looking to do here. But it's important that members of the public and councils really kind of get under the bonnet and look at what these proposals mean, because by the time the bulldozers coming down the lane and the site notice has gone up, is too late. Now's the time to be really examining what these proposals mean.
Can you tell us, Nick, as far as you understand it, certainly in sort of layman's terms, this idea that, we're not going to accept all of this business of you can't build around here, we'll plough through existing regulations. You've got to do that quite carefully because before somebody mounts a huge legal case against the government and stops everything in its tracks for about 2 years. So, but I think we all understand, and I think you would certainly do this as the chairman of a planning committee. you know better than most that it's, you think you've got everything sorted and, all the boxes are ticked. We've identified a plan, and somebody comes on and goes, sorry, you can't do that. Don't you just love it at the very end of a council meeting when that bloke stands up at the back and tells you why it's impossible? I'm sure you've seen all of this stuff. There are genuine concerns, and that's a democracy. However, there is also a reality here, and sometimes rules do need changing. Is that fair?
Yeah, I do think that's fair. I think it's worth highlighting that material planning considerations is what you're talking about. So you can have 500 people objecting to a planning application, but if those issues that they're raising are not material planning considerations, real policy reasons to refuse an application, then they are not taken into account and they would be discredited. So the planning officer and the planning committee, they do the job of effectively looking at planning applications and policy, and nothing is ever completely 100% black and white. It's very grey. You've got to weigh up different policies. There's a raft of reasons to approve it. There's a raft of reasons to refuse something. You need to weigh all of that up and then reach a judgment. And if you get the judgment wrong, then the government's planning inspector comes down and will tell you you've got it wrong. But generally, councils do get it right first time.
Yeah. What is do you sense this idea of the government sort of stepping in? Because they did talk about, well, we'll leave it to local authorities to decide where. We will just sort of say it's got to happen. Is that a good relationship with central government? Will that work for you?
I mean, I think there does need to be a framework. There do need to be some targets. Otherwise, it would be very difficult to get anything done. So that definitely needs to be in place. What the government are proposing is quite a significant increase in annual house building targets from 300,000 up to 370,000. But that doesn't sound too much on its own, but actually they're not evenly spread. So in London, they're looking at a reduction in the housing target, whereas I am in the southwest, they're looking at 43% increase. So It's not going to be the same everywhere. Some areas have got even higher increases in their housing targets. Councils are going to have to go and write new local plans. That costs money. It could cost £1 or £2 million to write a local plan, if not more. Where does that money come from? So there's a whole load of things that need to be taken into account.
Indeed. Listen, Nick, thank you for your time. Really appreciate that. Councillor Nick Cracker, Conservative councillor, chairman of the East Cornwall Planning Committee.